Beginning in the 1970s as a mail-order catalog, the Surfcaster has long been known as the source for hard-to-find surf fishing gear, and I've been personally shopping with them since the 1980s. They offer honest advice and the best recommendations regardless of your experience level, and will tailor their suggestions to what you actually need.
As you would expect from a business that's been serving the surfcasting community for 50 years, their prices are competitive and delivery is always quick and secure. They want you to have the best possible experience in the surf and have the knowledge and inventory to put the right gear in your hands to make that happen. So check out the Surfcaster at www.thesurfcaster.com, and if you're in the area, stop into their brand new brick and mortar store in Shelton, Connecticut.
Welcome to another episode of the Surfcast Podcast. Thanks to everyone for joining us, all of our listeners and our viewers. You can obviously check out every single episode on YouTube, anywhere you get your podcast. So if you're listening one way, you can always flip over and check out the other way, whatever works for you. That's what we're here to deliver every single week. This week we got another follow-up episode, so to speak. We are giving you an update on our season goals. If you remember back, I forget exactly, let's say early spring, before we really started getting going on the 2025 surf fishing season, Jerry and I sat down and we figured out a couple of goals. It was, I believe, 3 each of what we wanted to do for the season. So we're gonna let you know where we stand, and being that we're in the range, I'd say, of the halfway point of the season. I don't know, I'd have to look at it to see. We might be past it realistically, but we're close enough.
Let's just ignore that. Let's just keep going.
Yeah, I don't like to think that we've passed the halfway point yet. We're at a point in the season where we want to update. How about that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
sure. So yeah, if you want to do a quick recap on what you had set for us, for your season. What was that?
Yeah, I think that's good because we barely remembered, and I had to really think hard. And so I'm sure nobody else remembers, but maybe they do. The listeners are great. They tend to remember stuff that we don't. So we each had 3 goals, like Toby said. My 3 goals, I don't know if it's the order I said them in, but the first was to fish the bottle plug more. The next was to fish more types of striper environment. That I'd been stuck in boulder fields and sand beach, a lot of sand beach, and I wanted to sort of do some more stuff, some more modalities, fly fish, chunking, different stuff. And the final one was to try and catch some sharks. And specific to that, though, I wanted to try and get out for 25 nights. I want to push myself for that. So those were my 3 ones. Before we talk, though, Toby, why don't you do yours too? And that makes maybe you can roll into yours then too.
Yeah. That works. I'll outline them real quick, recap, and then explain them all where I'm at this point. So I wanted to, because we've been talking a lot of eels this season, in season 2 of the podcast, for whether it was intentional or otherwise, I forget when we were planning our episodes out. I wanted to fish more eels.
Yeah,
this year.
Kind of an unintentional accident. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's been on my mind, so I was like, you know what? I'm going to fish eels again. I used to be a big eel fisher, like a lot. It was one of my, bread and butter go-to methods, so I wanted to get back to that, the different types of eel fishing. I wanted to find and therefore fish, but more so find, consistent bunker. That's a bit out of my realm of control, but there's a level of control that I have as well. So, last year I believe I'd mentioned I only had bunker once, one single outing, so I wanted to put forth a bit more effort on that. And then I had what I kind of considered the surprise, hopefully to everyone, that I said I was going to fish the Ava jigs. I figured I crapped on them enough every time they came up that, when I fish certain sand beaches that I regularly hit in a season, that I would make a point to bring and fish them. So that's what I came up with for my 3 goals. Fortunately / unfortunately, 2 of them are very easy to address the update to everyone on. The Ava jigs, I haven't hit the sand yet. So that one is still pending, open-ended. We'll see where that goes. I was actually looking at some sand beach tides today for the next week or 2, because I'm looking at my son going back to school very soon. I promised I'd take him, type of thing. So I was already looking at that, so hopefully that'll be addressed soon. Next one was the eels. I hate to say I've failed on that so far, but I have reason. Part of what I wanted to do I wanted to incorporate eels as a primary into 2 specific spots that I fish regularly. And I wanted to be able to compare my results, because in my mind, I feel as if fishing rubber eel type lures the last, I don't know how many, 7, 8 years it's been that I've really been on those, I haven't felt like I was missing anything on the average. Take out the occasional night where just one thing does better than the others for whatever reason. I wanted to incorporate them in on those 2 spots to work that as the sample. And I haven't bought an eel yet this year because I've been doing sort of just well enough, I guess, and sort of unfortunately inconsistently enough getting out where I wasn't ready to put them up against each other. I want to get on those spots. I want to fish through. I want to understand what's going on and really be dialed in. And for a variety of reasons I don't need to bore anyone with today, that, especially of late, I've been unable to accomplish. So yeah, the eels also remain in the pending category. They're floating out there. I do have my my eel cooler ready for holding them, and the eel tank and everything. So I'm ready. It's just a matter of getting my butt in gear and buying them and put them into motion. But that will certainly happen. I was looking at some tides coming up for that, so
nice.
We'll see where that goes.
Nice.
But, and you and I have been even talking enough eels of late for a piece that you're going to get into later in this episode. So again, keeping on my mind. But the third one was the bunker. And this, there's a lot of, the bunker chunking for stripers with me is something, I almost find it comical that a lot of fellow surf casters are like, that's all he does. He is a chunker. That's how he gets his fish, blah, blah, blah. And I've had that over time. I was always this, I was always that. This is all he did. It was just this concept would develop of how I fish, and I just, never let it bother me. But I always thought it was funny.
You got a mystique. He's the chunk whisperer. I mean, I've had people tell me that's what you do. Yeah. Not even tell you, like they're telling me, and I'm like, okay, yeah, totally. That's definitely
right.
It. Yes.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's no matter what it is. Like if it's you fish this spot or you fish that method, yeah, sure, you believe that, go right ahead.
Absolutely.
Like I just roll with it. If you think you know. All right, we're good. But the last couple of years, it is probably the only thing I've done less is eel. Really, the last few years, because for me, as I've outlined before, I talked about it a couple of weeks ago in the chunking episode that I did. There's a quality of bait that I need to acquire. I need to literally have caught those bunker that calendar day to have the utmost confidence. And we've just gotten into a cycle where I fish, live, frequent, that the bunker have not been as prevalent. Last year, admittedly, I didn't put as much effort into tracking them down as I could have, as certainly as I had in past years. So I have put that in this year. Unfortunately, as far as acquiring them for the use of bait, I have come up empty. When I've looked in the places that they always used to be, or places that I've discovered in recent years that I thought were worth checking, they just weren't there. A variety of reasons at play, I never know what exactly it is, but I guess if there's something that makes me feel a little better about it, that I'm just, taking, like I'm having bad luck finding them out of equation, is I keep a network of boat anglers throughout the region I fish, and I communicate pretty openly with them about certain things, vice versa. We all have our stuff we keep, close to the vest, but the guys that I talk with, we're pretty good about tipping off on the bunker. Like it's an interesting network to have. Like, generally you network where the fish is that you're targeting. But I got I got a good little bunker network going, because for me it's difficult. I mean, I'm shore based, so I literally have to have bunker within 8 feet of my feet, whether that's off a dock, dry shore, a jetty, whatever it is. I mean, if a bunker school is 10 feet away from where I stand, I'm not reaching them, because I don't use the snag hook just because it's not efficient enough. I'm not using a gill net from shore, so I'm throwing a cast net, and that limits the range that I can work. So it really is beneficial to have that network, and to a man, each of them has had a difficult time finding bunker this year. Surprisingly so, to the point that even one of my contacts, who is admittedly a big bunker fisherman, like, you know, the perception of how I have been in the surf, he embodies that on the boat side. He's like, nah, I've bought more eels this year and fished different places, and basically, you know, the bunker is like 5 levels down what I'm doing now.
Wow.
Yeah, I was really surprised when I talked to him, because he's got, you know, he's been in tune and dialed on them the last few years. Even when it was difficult for a lot of other boaters to find them, he was finding them. You know, use of electronics and just general knowledge and things, was able to piece it together. And he's like, nah, dude, I'm buying eels in bulk now, and that's what we're fishing. And he's doing just as well, which is great. But the only guy that I really talked to that's done well finding them is a boater setting a gill net on them, and you're covering water. I've done it with them before when we've boat fished, and you got to put some work in, and you got to cover some water, which just says that they're not schooled up, they're not in big pods, they're not in big numbers in our area. So, you know, it's singles here and a couple there. So with all of that, I have seen bunker on one outing, and it was this was the most unexpected, somewhat eye-opening experience I've had, and I was set with a dilemma. So I'll set it up. Jerry's heard the story. I was early summer. Tides were really good for a spot to throw the fly rod, and I had just actually picked up a new fly outfit. But I was pretty psyched. I was like, all right, I'm gonna go out to the spot in an evening. It's on my own. I get there. Conditions are what I want. You know, barely any breeze, just enough to keep the little no-see-ums and the mosquitoes from, you know, pissing me off to no end. And I walk from where I park. I walk down, make my way to the beach, and I start by seeing vacationers chunking, lights everywhere. I mean, every one of them's got a light looking every which way, and they're doing the cast and watch their baits go out, and then they're talking to each other and blasting each other in the face with the lights. And I'm like, oh, I should just call it. But you know what? I went through the effort to get here. I'm going to fish. It looks great. So I start walking to the water, and it was like a quarter moonish, kind of just enough light out, not to mention the light coming from the headlights and the flashlights and all. And I could see disturbance in the water. All right, you know, this time of year is probably some small bait, whatever. As I start walking into the water, bunker starts swimming into me. Adult bunker are everywhere. I mean, just what I would want to find. I am excited. But quickly, I've got the dilemma. All right, there's all these bunker. I have my fly rod. Now, I have some beast flies that I've tied. I got some larger flies, but I also brought small stuff because I was just kind of I want to test this new rod out kind of a mode. Tie on the beast fly. I'm like, you might have the opportunity here, because I'm also seeing fish breaking a little bit within the bunker. I'm like, you might actually be able to do something legit here.
Like, this is everything's stacked. Like, we talk about stacking variables, right? Like, you're stacked up now. You're not casting to the bunker. You're in it. So...
Yes, I'm in it. I could slap 10 feet off of the rod and be too far away.
Right.
So my mind is racing. Like, I've got this, but maybe I should head home, grab my stuff, and come back with heavy gas. No, screw it. Stick to it. Stick to the fly. You can do this. 2.5+ hours later of working this school of bunker that eventually dispersed, and I saw some very large swirls pop in, and it wasn't a matter the entire duration. I've been in situations there's too much bait. Different species, there's too much, and you can't differentiate your lure from the live stuff. There was times where they had broken up and there was just little pods going around and fish on them, and I delivered some, for my abilities, surprisingly accurate fly casts with beast fly, small flies, sand eels, I went through everything. And I had one, we'll call it, at one point in time, a fish was connected to my hook, and I don't know if it was a schoolie or a bunker. So it was great to see. Okay, they're around. It was heartbreaking not to be able to produce, but it was cool to have experienced it. It's been a few weeks now. I'm trying to think, was there something I could have done different and this and that? And of course, what could I have done better? Who knows? But that was my one bunker experience so far this year. Hopefully there'll be more, and hopefully they'll be a bit more productive as the season progresses along. I mean, couldn't write that script any better other than putting some fish on the end of my line, but so that's where I'm at. That's the update on Toby's goals for 25. What about you, Jerry? Where are you at? I bet if you added it up, more striped bass were caught from the surf last year on plastic swimmers than any other plug, probably even more than bucktails. The reason is simple. For generations, the plastic swimmer has proven to be a versatile, effective, and affordable fish-catching machine.
And that's where the new Hogy OG Swimmer comes in. Unlike most of the other modern swimmers that all look and act alike, the OG Swimmer brings together a traditional design with modern enhancements to offer anglers with a unique and highly effective swimming plug unlike anything else currently on the market. With a unique wobbling action, it moves like an injured baitfish, and it's a large profile, chunky and tubular, and measuring in at 7 inches. Plus, with a downturn line tie, the OG Swimmer stays shallow, making it ideal for surf anglers.
All of this is tied together in an extra hard body that's through-wired and decked out with VMC hooks and a hand-tied bucktail teaser. And just like the Hogy needlefish, you won't find a rear hook on this lure, which is better for the fish, better for your hands, and easier on your wallet. This is all part of the Hook One platform, as well as Hogy's new core philosophy, quality for today, conservation for tomorrow. To find out more about this mission, and to pick up one of these premium OG swimmers, be sure to check out www.hogylures.com.
My season goals, I don't mean to cast any shade in your direction, but actually my goals I'm doing a lot better on. I'm doing a lot better on my goals, I think. Specifically one of them, but I'll start with the one that I'm doing the worst at. I'm going to give people a second to sort of guess what they think it might be.
And I can't even, off the top of my head, think what that one. I know what the best one is, but I'm trying to think myself what the worst is.
It's definitely fishing more kinds of striper coast. I pretty much just defaulted right to my best spots and my 2 different kinds of structure. I don't know if I've even... I know I did. I fly fished once or twice really early in the season. But that's it. So I've touched the fly rod either once or twice. I did chunk twice. But otherwise, I'm just doing the same thing that I said I didn't want to do at all. But, and this gives away more thing that we'll probably talk about towards the end of the season. When fishing is bad, I get anxious. And I tend to drill down further and further and further and not branching out as far. When fishing is good and I can put some big fish on the beach, I can go... they're probably over at that spot again, but I'm going to go do this instead because I'm going to try to roll the dice, or I'm going to go fly fishing or something. So it hasn't been good, and that's an understatement. So that's why I have sort of not accomplished that goal. The next goal is the bottle plug. I feel I'm doing a pretty good job with this goal. I have carried it. I don't know how many nights I've fished this season. But I've carried it at least 80% of nights. So 8 out of 10, it's in my bag. Of those 8 out of 10, 7 of those I've casted it more than once. So even more recently, fishing's been a little better. It's been very specific. I don't want to get into details at all. But I have forced myself with grit teeth to put the bottle plug on and at least cast it a couple times because I'm on the podcast, and this is a goal I told everybody, so I'm going to do it. So I put it on, and I cast it out there. So, no fish. I don't have a fish on it
I was just going to ask, because I was wondering if it produced, if it was well. But might there be a little, you're not fishing it as thoroughly because if you're... Okay, yes. So you're just kind of like throwing it to throw and
totally copping out. Yeah. Oh, totally. If not for the podcast, I wouldn't even be carrying it. So I just feel like I owe it to the listeners, and people are going to call me out if I don't. So what do you mean you didn't accomplish your goal? You didn't even try. It's like, yeah, okay, you're right. That's absolutely right. So I have a gut feeling, though, that if things are turning around or turn around this fall for me, I really am very curious and feel re-enthused because it's not like it's something I've never used before. It's just not, I haven't used it recently.
Yeah.
So I'm still committed to that goal. And the other one too. I really got to rethink and like take a time out about fishing more types of striper, coast, and modality. All right, but the third one, I'll say it. I'll toot my own horn, as they say. I've been crushing it. I think that, forget about the performance, which we'll talk about in a second, but my final goal was I wanted to shark, and I wanted to shark for 25 nights specifically. Now, the 25 nights had a very specific purpose. It was because in my neck of the woods, the sharks show up in late June, and July and August are peak. And pretty much everybody gives up by September, but that's because people go back to work and school, people start fishing the fall run, people are sick and tired of doing the same thing, and so I think that those factors play in. The sharks are, like, if we're talking about brown sharks specifically, they're definitely around until the middle of September. I mean, that's like biological truth. And I've had them in late September, even, taking my fish. So, but that was sort of my thought process. Now, I didn't get out in June at all. I didn't get out in June after sharks at all. But as of doing this episode, I don't know exactly when this is going to come out, but it's in August. I have 16 nights. I got 16 nights in the surf specifically for sharks. I don't know if this is good or bad, and you can judge me one way or the other, but when I commit to a goal, I commit. And this one I felt like I really wanted to commit to because I really want to get good at this. I don't want to be average. You know, some guys I talk to, it's like a distraction or something they do for fun. Like, I would like to get pretty good at this. And if you're going to do that, you have to commit. So I didn't striper fish at all in the month of July. Mm-hmm. I just shark fished. And I've had some stuff going on. So, but we're also doing this in very early August. So I wanted to do it. And if I'm going to do it, there has to be some sacrifice. If you want to get better at the needlefish, you have to sacrifice. You've got to get better at the bottle plug. If you want to get better at the bottle plug, you got to sacrifice. You know, when I started fly fishing, I said, I have to let go of the ego. I've got to just commit. I'm not going to catch as many fish. I'm definitely not going to catch as many big fish. I'm just going to fish with a fly rod. Honestly, I ended up catching more fish because I ended up catching a lot of small ones. Mm-hmm. But I had to set aside that, like, nagging, like, you're missing the 40 and just do it. That's what I'm doing with the sharks. Oh, you're missing some tide. Oh, you're missing these conditions. I'm just going to, sharks. So how's it been going? It's hilarious because it has not been going that well. I'm not going to try to pretend it's going that great. Everybody's screaming, the sharks is the end of the world. It's the shark apocalypse. Guys can't even fish in Montauk. The boat guys, inshore, offshore, they can't even fish. The sharks are everywhere of every species. There's bull sharks and hammerheads and browns and there's the tiger shark, which Hans just talked about. And, we've everything under the sun, right? And me and my friend Corey can't catch a damn shark to save our lives for like 3 weeks. We went complete. I didn't know it at the time because I didn't have enough experiences because I had all these expectations about what it would be like. But again, I'm going to this fairly blind. Thanks to Jimmy Fee for help. He gave me some direct help, so I got to give a shout out to him. But besides that, I've gone in completely blind, and I didn't expect them to be like. Sometimes the bites are like fairly subtle. Like you get confused. Is it a bluefish or is it a dogfish or is it a shark? Most of the time, that's not true. Most of the time, it's like they're jerking and then they're taking the bait runner drag. Like they're going, and so you can tell. But there's been some where it's like, I don't know if this is or isn't, and then all of a sudden it is. So there's been some expectations that have not been met and have been met. So, but early on, I think we just had a couple of takedowns for the first 3 weeks. And all I can hear about is all this shark stuff going on, and everybody's all pissed off, and I can't catch when I'm trying. So we were very frustrated, honestly. It got to the point where, 3, 4, 5 times you're frustrated, and then by like the 6th, 7th time, it's hilarious. It's just like a running joke. But eventually, we did have some luck. The very first shark I landed was a sand tiger, which is hilarious because that's not very common. It's actually pretty uncommon. Mm-hmm. And, I'm out there basically thinking brown shark, and I catch a sand tiger. Yeah. But on that night, I dropped 3 other ones that were running against either the bait runner or they were running against the loose drag on the Spheros, which is the other reel I've been using. And then something happened and I just dropped them. And when I landed the Sand Tiger, I was by myself and I was doubled up. My other rod was going. And I was like, what do I do? And I'm like, just focus on the one you've got right in front of you. So I'm like letting like the drags going out on the Spheros, and over there on the Okuma, the bait drag's going, and the rod's going friggin' nuts. And I'm like, do I put it down and like run over there and like engage it and just let it start going? And then like, I'm like, forget it. I'm just gonna stay with it here. So the whole time I was fighting that fish, the Sand Tiger, and even when I landed it, that other shark was on. So it must have been just kind of caught on the hook. But as soon as I started taking photos and I got the shark off and whatever, it was gone off the other one. And the bait was still there and everything, which is funny. But then we've had a couple of nights where, while we've only landed 1 fish each night, we've had a lot of takedowns. My buddy lost something massive that was not a ray. It was a very heavy thing. It was very exciting for like a minute. It was very exciting for a minute because we were like, yeah. Oh my God, what in the world is this? And then something happened and it just broke. We have no idea what happened. So it's been really fun. It's been a good distraction. There's a few things I'd like to share. The first is thank you again so much to Jimmy Fee. He was instrumental in helping us. He did give me some tips. But I have been trying to go into this as dark as possible because I like the learning aspect. I like the failing aspect of it. Again, it was frustrating hearing about all the sharks and not catching them, but I like going my own way. And one of the things that I have learned pretty early on is that you can make the shark rig way too complicated. And I've read some stuff online, and I did a lot of like what I call arts and crafts, where I was attaching this line to this line and these beads and that thing and this much and da-da-da-da-da. And I top shot and wrap around and blah, 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 all this stuff. And I'm just like, this is way too crazy. The most of the sharks we're going to land are going to be 5 feet long or smaller. If we get a 7-foot long shark, I don't even know if we're going to be able to land it anyways. And we want to prepare for that. But I just started going to a straight piece, 300-pound test, 6 feet long, 7 feet long. I'm using an 11 or a 13-foot rod, easy to cast, and then 12 inches of wire. I used 18. You know, I've heard Jimmy say even 6 or 8 inches is fine. I might actually switch to that, but that's what I've been doing. So I'm getting 7 or 8 feet. I'm not going to get a 9-foot shark. That's not going to happen. So that's fine. And it makes casting easier. It makes maintaining easier. The leader gets rashed up because the weight's going up and down it and there's sand. If I've got 300-pound test, I'm not worried about it. Oh, it's all roughed up and like starting to get opaque. It's not see-through anymore. Who cares? It's 300-pound test.
It could be 260-pound strength.
Yeah, it could be a quarter strength, and you'd still be fine, even with 65-pound braid, because you're not strength. So,
yeah,
you could be 10. It could be 10% practically. So, anyway, and I've been using. One thing I will say that we've been having good luck is we've been using the big Mustad Demons, Perfect Circles. They're crazy expensive, but they hold up really well. And when I was using other Mustad hook in conjunction, jamming it through an eel a bunch of times, maybe dragging it through the sand, you lose the point actually a lot faster than I thought you would. And on the big demons, they hold up, but also you can just take a friggin' file to them. I'm not even talking like a hook sharpening file. I'm talking like a file and just go zhunk down each side, and they're like pointy again. And you can't do that 10 times, but you know, we've only gone through like 2 hooks and all 16 times that we've gone. But there's one very exciting thing, which we didn't tease because we want to do this for the people who are listening all the way through. There's something that I've actually been experimenting for 3 years now, Toby. Toby, do you even know what I'm talking? You do know what I'm talking about.
I do now. Yeah. Now, it took me a second, and then,
It's been 3 years. Shout out to Peter. I won't say your last name in case you don't want someone to know, but shout out to Peter, who sent me a Reddit post that showed a bucket of sunfish, yes, like sunfish from like the pond, and guys claiming they were catching 30 or even 35-pound bass. I don't remember which state. I think it was like Delaware.
I think it was Mid-Atlantic.
It was Mid-Atlantic, I think. And someone said, hold up. You're catching stripers on sunfish. And he sent it to me, and he was like, have you ever heard of this? And I was like, no. And so I immediately told Toby, and Toby's like, no, never heard of that either. And I was like, Was
not chunking them. We used to live line them, but different. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'm on it. So I got chunks. We did it twice, I think, Toby, and that was 2 seasons ago, and we didn't do it last year at all.
Yeah.
But then I started thinking, I don't like to buy eels. I've talked about this in the podcast before. Anybody who's done my seminars or talked to me, I don't like to buy eels. I don't like to use eels. There's a variety of reasons. I'm like, what other kind of bait could I get locally that's akin to Toby netting his bunker? Well, I don't have access to that. So I'll just try sunfish, and we'll just do direct comparisons. So already I'm screwing everything up because I'm already trying to do direct comparisons. So like on my very first time out, I have sunfish. Like I'm out there with sunfish. So I always had eels though. So that's why I was fishing 2 rods. So I started getting sunfish. I become very good at getting sunfish. I become the sunfish whisperer. You think catching sunfish is easy? It's not as easy when you have to catch them. When you're like, I've got an hour and I need 6. How am I going to catch them? Oh, they're like leader shy. You're scaring them with a bobber. Do you use a bobber? Do you use a lot of worm? It's getting stolen every time from the really small ones. You don't want the really small ones. You don't want the really big ones, I figured out. If you're chunking, you do. But I decided it'd be best, because they hold up the best, if I use a whole sunfish. As soon as I start cutting them up, also freezing them, they get weaker. So if I can use a whole sunfish, I nip off the tail just to help with aerodynamics a little bit. I want one that's like palm size to like first knuckle, about that size on my hand. So medium large, but not large. Not those big like 10 ouncers. That's like too big.
Not a pan fryer.
Yeah, not a pan fry, which I got those at first too. They're harder to catch. You have to use like tippet on your worm at this point of the summer because they're like spooky. So I don't even want to try to catch them. So anyways, I started doing that and it works really well. We've had just as many takedowns, and the very first shark I landed, the sand tiger, was on sunfish. So I am totally stoked. I don't know if anyone's ever done this before. And I told Toby, I was like, we're not going to keep this a secret. We're going to bring it right to the podcast as soon as it works, and we're going to share it with everybody because I think it could be an interesting thing for other people to try who maybe have even more experience or just more different regions, because I know like it's official, allowed legally to target sharks now in Long Island, even though it was kind of like a gentleman's agreement for a long time and they weren't enforcing anything. I would be interested to hear what people do with sunfish. Now, in closing, I haven't actually met my goal though, Toby, have I? Because I haven't actually hit 25 days.
You're doing well on it though. I commend you for the effort on it so far.
I've gone all in. We've stayed up all night a couple of times. We didn't quit till 3:00 in the morning. We've been trying to focus on the tides. We have a section of a beach that we think is better. We're on it. Me and my friend Corey. Will I make it to 25? Oh, that's only 9 more times, Jerry. Okay, well, 9 more times spread over 4 weeks is 2 times plus 1 a week.
Yeah.
We're doing this at the beginning of August. It's going to start bumping into fall run, and there's going to start being some moons. There's going to start being some storms. It's going to be touch and go. I'm not sure if I'll make it or not. I know I'll get to 20 because I've only got to do 4, and I know already as of recording this, I'll probably do 1 or 2 in the next week to 10 days.
Yeah.
So I know I'll only have to get a couple, and at that point, I'll force myself to give up if I have to get to 20. It's going to be close to get to 25. But I think, like anything else, if you want to succeed, you have to put blinders on, and you have to just put your nose to the grindstone and just say, I'm either going to commit to this or I'm not. And I love plugging for stripers more than anything. Definitely more than catching sharks. But if I'm going to also mix in sharks to my repertoire and make this another like pillar of my fishing, like trout is, like maybe smallmouth can be, like stripers are, like striper fly fishing is, then I need to just buckle down. So I might give up a touch of the fall run to focus on catching these sharks. This has been a weekly edition of the Surfcast Podcast. You can find out more about the podcast at surfcastpodcast.com, or definitely check us out on social media, Facebook, Instagram, at the Surfcast Podcast.